Welcome to Rick and Bubba University, and we are ready for another episode. We've been telling you that when we go to Rick and Bubba University, we'll give you, I'm talking about a gamut of different topics, and boy, have we had those over the last few weeks, Bubba. We've talked aliens, we talked Bigfoot. Our first week we talked missing 411, but we also have another pitch that we throw, and these are Rick and Bubba profiles. We've done one on Eddie Van Adler, and Bubba today, a Rick and Bubba profile on the one and only Greg Burgess.
For all the things you thought you knew, it's the man you never knew.
Oh, boy. It is, Bubba. I like that. Is that going to be how we're going to play
I think it should be the man you never knew.
Greg, welcome to Rick and Bubba University.
Well, glad to be here, Rick, Dr. Bussey.
Yes, yes.
Let's say y'all had Calvin Parker.
Right.
Got abducted by aliens. Y'all had Bigfoot Bob last week.
Yep.
What, somebody expert on the Mothman not available this week?
No. Well, Greg, but we could go there with you because this is kind of your area. But
you're right with the abduction or Bigfoot Bob. I had some questions I could have asked.
Well, let's start right from the top. When did you first remember something after coming home from the hospital?
I remember when we lived in Birmingham, which was I was 4, so it had to all be during the 4 times because I make fun of you. Because Bubba claims he remembers ball games and stuff. I don't know how in the world.
68, 69.
Yeah.
I was 4 or 5 years old.
But my first memories, I know you're kidding, but that's a good point. My first memories are we lived in Birmingham, so it had to be probably when I was between 3 and 4.
Yeah, Greg and I both.
remember Rick was always involved in every one of them.
Yeah.
Because he was there constantly.
Yeah, I've known Greg since he was born, and I didn't care for him being born, frankly. My mom says that as a 2-year-old, when he was brought home, that I did not behave well, that I didn't speak to her. I wouldn't have anything to do with my mom because she brought this other baby home. And they have a famous picture, and if we had it, we would show it, but a famous picture of me on his baby bed standing there, and I had stolen his pacifier, and he's screaming and crying, and I have it in my mouth.
Yeah.
So I've been harassing Greg from the day he arrived.
And it's been well documented. You stole his Easter eggs.
Oh, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Greg, it's a wonder with all that Rick did to terrorize you that you're not more messed up than you are. Really. I mean,
Because understand
seriously.
this. We're less than 2 years apart in age. We shared a room till we went to college.
Right.
I mean, we
Could you
not
imagine,
only we live in the
could you
same
imagine
house.
our kids now under that?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And of course, our sister had her own room, and I understand that. But when we've been that much now, and till about 13, we didn't get along very well.
Yeah, we it's interesting because I go back to a lot of things from our childhood, and you've heard us talk about this on the show. You don't know anything but your own experience.
Right.
So I thought the way that we lived and the way we were raised was normal. I've realized, a good bit that it really wasn't. And one of the things, we all have children. I mean, can y'all, because you're, Bubba, having a male and a female only, it's a little bit different, but still you can have arguments, and I know there's been some. But I haven't seen my children fight hardly ever. I can't even really document anything even remotely close.
Physical, at least.
Yeah,
right?
to the
punching.
Greg and I fought each other physically at least 3-4 times a week.
Oh yeah. Mother drove mom crazy. She'd take care of it though. And you're right, my kids, of course, mine are boy and girl, and they're 3 years apart. But I mean, they would argue. I don't even never heard them argue the way we did.
No,
and, much less. But we would punch each other in the face, stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was
good fight.
Yeah,
good punches.
Well, we talked about this on the show a lot because how you can make a puppy mean.
Yeah, by roughhousing it.
Yeah, and I will say that Greg was the meanest, and everybody can document this. The meanest little boy that I have ever known.
Oh, Rick.
Even now.
Yeah, even now. I mean, he wasn't very big until, I guess, your first year out of high school, right?
Yeah, I think I graduated. I weighed about 155.
Yeah, and then you started becoming a bigger man.
I weighed 50 pounds for a long time.
Yeah,
that led to a lot of fights because they referred to me as 50-pounder. The older kids. Yeah. We grew up in there with a bunch of boys.
Oh yeah.
Greg did not take well to ribbing, and there was a lot of it, and he didn't mind using an equalizer. It was just a different time,
right, like a bat.
Yeah, like a bat. And one of the most famous stories is, we grew up, and I'm like you guys. I feel the same thing. There's some things that our kids just don't have and never had that I wish they did.
Yeah.
And one of those is a real neighborhood.
Yeah, that you could play in.
I mean, a neighborhood where all the kids all knew each other. They played organized sports. You didn't need a a youth league.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't nothing wrong with it, but you didn't need
we
it
played organized sports. Whatever season was in, that's what we played.
all the time. And Greg's team would always play my team. We were never on the same team.
Yeah. Well, that probably lent to some of the encounters we've heard about.
Yeah. And so we put together the NFL, the Neighborhood Football League. And then, of course, we would have then hybrids of versions of basketball, baseball, games that were a combination of all of them.
We did too.
Yeah, yep. And I was always, my team was the Warriors, and Greg's team was the Bombers. The Bombers and the Warriors. I mean, you talk about
where I got bombed.
Hey, you talk about fierce rival.
Constant.
Can I tell you what's funny about how when you're a weird little kid, the things you come up with? So you remember we all had record players and a tape recorder.
Right.
Yeah. You know, the little push down, push play and record. So we
that
were
record player that had a needle on it looked like a nail.
Oh, yeah.
And the speaker was made on the arm. It's all right there together.
So listen to this commitment. So we would have our football games, and we had to have helmets, and everybody would drag up whatever helmets you could find.
But that was the only pad you had on. So really, looking back, that wasn't a great.
It wasn't very smart, but everybody had to have a helmet because we didn't think football was sharp without a helmet.
Right.
And then we would try to get matching shirts for our team members.
We used to draw our own.
We did too. Well, my dad, being a coach, he had all kinds of coaching shirts. So we would go get those and put them on because he would have some that were one color and some that were another, and that would be our two teams.
Right.
And so my mom would end up at the end of the day with dirty shirts piled in piles from neighborhood kids. But we took that record player and the recorder, and both teams recorded their own fight songs, and we would run onto the field, my mom and dad's backyard, to the actual fight song. And I can still remember the Bombers really kind of upped us on this. Their fight song was Hawaii 5-0. That was ours. And Greg's team would run onto the field, and I came onto the field to SWAT. The theme from SWAT.
Because that was the two records
we tried to, back in that day, everybody had the tearaway jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
We wanted that, and we'd get a T-shirt, but they wouldn't tear to begin with because they still had the collar in them. And people would about rip your neck off. You're like, why ain't it tearing away? And then after you finally did, nobody had a shirt anymore.
I
know.
So
we didn't have the box of tearaways like everybody else.
I know.
But Greg, I think you will say, and Bubba had the same type of experience. I just wish our kids could have experienced that because we had a group of boys and we played sports. We played out in the woods. We built tree houses. We built forts. And we did some things that you look back and you go, okay, shooting at each other with BB guns, I would not.
Probably not good.
I would let my kids do that.
Luckily, we have our eyes still.
Yeah, and we had rules. You can't shoot above the shoulders. But then people would just fire into each other's forts.
Right.
Of course, that led to a fight between us. I flanked him one time, shot him right in the ear.
Shot me right in the ear. And of course, then I charged him like a madman, taking shots to the stomach and legs as I then overwhelmed him with sheer power.
It was a bad day.
Let's talk about something uniquely, Greg. Let's talk about the lovely Lisa Burgess.
Yep.
Yeah, how about that? We've been
now,
together
how did y'all meet, Greg?
Yeah, tell us back to all that.
People want to know about
Lisa. I mean,
Burgess.
Lisa's funny. She's we got people that are fans of the show that love her best of bits.
Oh yeah,
and we've even had them say they need to put her and Betty and all the gals together.
Well, we've all heard that, and that's not going to happen.
If we get all of our wives in here, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
But Lisa, me and Lisa have been together since I was 15 and she was 14. That's a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. No, we weren't married.
So
we weren't married then.
I started to say, was that married?
No, we weren't married then.
So where did you see her at first?
Skating ring. She had on chick jeans. Looked good. Skating around.
Chick jeans.
Yeah, checking it out.
So
was checking her out. Say
that's what I meant.
Yeah, I knew that's what you meant.
Yeah,
that's what I said. Boy, I'm in trouble. Can you edit that?
Was she open to your affection at that time?
Well, I had kind of an end. She was a grade. She's a year younger than me, a little over a year, nearly 2 years. So we didn't really, at that age, really hang out. But at the time, Rick was dating her cousin, who I went to school with and was a friend of mine, and that's pretty much was the connection.
Down at Ville?
Yeah.
And so was it love at first sight for her too?
Oh, no, you have to ask her that. I'm not sure about that.
Well,
but yes, I was very smitten with her, and like I said, we just I guess we did something right. We've been together a long time.
I mean, I can remember.
Still are today.
Not exaggerating, Bubba. They were so young.
She has a lot of patience. We'll have to admit that.
They became.
She don't pay no attention to me.
No, I think she was designed by God for Greg.
Right, it was a special.
I mean, because she has the
eyes.
countenance, and she'll just look at me and say, "Do you know what it's like to live with him?" I said, "Yeah, I do. I do know what it's like."
Y'all can talk about that.
But I remember they started dating literally when I would have to drop Greg off to go see her at her family's house. And because I could drive and Greg couldn't. That's how long they've been together.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your first job?
My first job was Food World, sacking groceries. Now, I would work in the summers. I'm going to say official job was Food World. During the summer, my good buddy Gerald Cates, his granddaddy, cut everybody's hay in the area. Mm-hmm. So we would haul hay and do all. That's why we made money.
Is there a worse job than that?
Man, I can't but we were so young at the time. Like
golf course close.
We didn't even think anything about it. We had a ball cutting and baling and all that, and those are some of the best memories I've ever. And Lee Reeves, that was Gerald's granddaddy. He taught me a million things, about how to work and on the farm, because we didn't grow up with that,
No.
Dad would say, y'all get out of the way because y'all keep messing the yard and everything. Right. Let me have it. Yeah. But anyway, those were great. But my first official job was at Food World. I was my second semester of my senior year. Once football season was over, and I got a part-time job. And then I moved up to meat department as a meat clerk. Mm. And then from there, then I made an attempt at college, which was a joke because I just went because everybody went.
Right.
And I didn't have a major, and we had fun. We lived in a trailer up there at the school and had a great time, but that's the problem. You actually have to go to class. Right. I left that part out.
How long did you last?
2 semesters.
What?
I got 1 credit. It was a lab. Dr. Summer Hour, biology lab. And so Dad wasn't happy about it. Mom was. They didn't care if I went to college. They were just like, why did you?
Yeah, you're wasting your time and our money. I get it.
But Dad did let me know that.
I understand that.
Yeah, Dad let me know that my part-time Food World job was a student's job. So if I was no longer a student, I might want to decide to get another job.
Now, isn't it true, Greg? Because you remember family history, and we've talked about this, but I want to be. You can clarify, even for me, because I left the room. I was there when Dad found out that Greg had not been going to class.
Oh, that was bad.
It was not a good day.
I waited till the last minute to reveal it.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, why reveal ahead of time?
Why run the day?
And your parents are both educators, so you're probably not going to go over big.
And again, their biggest beef was if you didn't want to go, just don't have us, taking out loans. Did you have
a plan? Or was it just
no plan.
Denial?
No.
I was going to be a rock star. Don't forget, I was in a rock and roll.
I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get that in a minute because there's one thing about you I think people don't know, and it kind of leads to what we're doing now, but I'll get into that in just a minute. But if I recall, did Dad not say either get a job or we're going down to the various military options and you're going in the military?
I even took what's the ASVAB test that you take?
Look out now. This is a family podcast.
What? I said it wrong. Yeah. And was going to go. In fact, a friend of mine, we're going together, and I left him hanging.
He signed up, and you didn't?
Well, what happened
is... He set it off to basic training. He signed
Greg's starting to work with the power company.
That's what happened. So I was 19 years old, and a friend of the family, Buford Chase, and known him my whole life.
Oh, yeah.
And he was pretty high up at the power company. He'd been there forever. And he got word of my situation. He said, "Well, let me see if I can help you out." And this is back in the days when you could do that. Nowadays, it's a whole nother process.
Oh yeah.
So he got me an interview, and he got me an interview, and I went in, and the guy told me, he said, "Look, all I got is we call it a building attendant, but it's a janitor." Mm-hmm. He said it's only 20 hours a week. It's up here at the office. He said, "But you're 19. They're not going to leave you here. You will eventually move on to something else."
All right.
So I took that job, and Dad seemed to say, "I know at the time it's not a great, but you got at least a future."
Now, were you still a meat cutter too, or just?
No, I left the meat cutting, got in the door at the power company, did the janitor job for about a year, and then moved into what you call a helper position, which is a union job, the entry level. And I went from $4.50 an hour to $7.11 an hour,
and that was serious scratch back
then.
Dang
right.
Yep.
And I was the helper, and this is what I love about Alabama Power. I went there basically. I never thought about what I wanted to do, but I go in there, and I do like that type of work. I found out, and plus, I didn't know anything. I mean, I've been sacking groceries and cleaning bathrooms, and they taught me a skill, and paid me while they taught it.
Yeah.
And you just progress, and you learn, and you get seniority, and you get training, and you go from like helper in the warehouse, and then they move you to the garage. You learn about the equipment. Then they put you in the tree crew to see if you'll work, which we had a ball. Hardest work I've ever done.
Yeah.
Tree trimmer.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in the line crew, and I worked there 23 years, and I loved it.
Now we hear a lot of stories from your days at the power company.
Wow.
We've met one of them who was a legend, the great Creeper Jackson.
Oh yeah, he was here. He was my mentor. Absolutely, Creeper Jackson taught me. Him and Tim Sprayberry taught me everything that I knew.
Well, let's go back.
That's quite a two there.
Yeah.
Well,
quite a pair.
I was going to tell you that because
I loved it. I did.
And we'll get to how you ended up on the show and everything. But a lot of what people love about you on the show and a lot of the type of humor you do came from that experience of working blue collar in rural Alabama and being around these men.
Exactly. And I would do that. And you remember, y'all let me be on y'all's softball team. And so I had exposure to the show. And then I would come, if we were going hunting and we showed up early, we'd all show up at the studio. We'd all yuck it up on the air a little bit. And I dabbled in that. And to be honest, it's kind of funny. And a buddy of mine I was talking to him the other day, he said, I told you from day one, you need to be with them. I don't know why you're out here with us. And I was like, you're crazy. You've lost your mind, And he takes credit for it.
Well, I want to go back to this because one thing I think maybe misunderstood, and you did love the work and you did great at it.
Listen, I made friends
as
there.
a blue collar.
It's like family.
Lifetime,
It was like family.
But when we were young, Greg actually had as much desire to get in the entertainment business as I did.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what, it's kind of funny to laugh. We were writing songs and playing music when we were 15 years old, 14 years old. We started out like a lot of bands. We weren't good at covers, so we just wrote our own songs.
Yeah. Then people couldn't tell you were playing them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We weren't talented enough to play covers, so but we taught ourselves. But the thing is, there was this desire. We certainly enjoyed
Entertainment business.
we certainly enjoyed athletics and but honestly, I don't know that I didn't play football because my dad was a football player and was a coach. He never, not one time, ever encouraged Greg or me to play football.
Never.
It was never mentioned. If we wanted to play it, that was fine. But I mainly played football, and I think you did too, Greg. We certainly liked the sport.
Oh, I loved it.
But I mainly played it because and at our high school, the football team was the big deal.
Oh, yeah.
So if you put in the work, and it was a lot of work, but there was a payoff. Friday pep rallies were huge.
The girls seemed to like it.
But what I'm saying, it really was more of a slant to the entertainment business than it was a love of football.
Yeah, you're right.
That's really true.
At the time, I don't think I realized it, but you're right.
Because that was the biggest show every Friday night in our county. I remember looking at people that didn't come to football games and thinking, what's wrong with them?
Yeah, where are they going?
What's wrong with their life?
Well, back in the days when you had 4 classifications for your schools, your whole county were rivals because you were all in the same classification. When they spread it out, I understand why they did it.
One
but
loss
it took all
and you're
that
out of it. If it was the wrong team.
Oh, we'd have 9-1 teams stay at home because they lost to the 10-0 team.
Yeah.
And all the parents all worked together from the different schools, so the rivalries were crazy. It was just a great place to play.
But we both wanted to be in a band, and of course, when I was growing up, I said, I liked football. I liked, music, and I really always, Bubba and I both, had a real love of radio, and I always wanted to be in radio. You didn't really have that bug, but you and I both had the desire to be in the entertainment business.
Oh, yeah.
And really put together bands and played for quite a while until, unfortunately, we had a tragedy in our lives, and that's that one of our best friends and one of your very closest friends, and one of my close friends too, y'all were the same age, died at a very young age.
Yeah, and he was the major force in the band, and we started together since we were kids, learned how to play together. And when he was no longer there, then I really didn't have a desire to be a part of it.
Yeah, he actually, Chuck Mason, got cancer at, 22?
Yeah.
22 years old.
21, 22.
And unfortunately, it was the kind of cancer that they were not able in those days to defeat it, and it eventually took his life. But you look back at God's sovereignty on that, and I don't want to get overly serious, but I remember you and I talking about it, and you and I certainly weren't living lives of devoted disciples of Jesus at the time, but we've always believed since we were kids. Bubba, Greg and I got down to the point, you can talk about this, Greg, where we had an opportunity that had been presented to us, not because we were a great band, but because, kind of like what you and I do, Bubba, we knew how to put on a show.
And we worked hard.
Yeah, and we worked hard, and we could play good enough. And we had some songs that had some little hooks that worked out, some of those that are on the Fat Chance CD now, when we started doing it together as a show. And they took us to New Orleans, and they were recording us at River City Studios. And Greg had just started this climb that he just talked about in the power company. I had just started dabbling in radio and had jobs in radio. Yeah. And you and I were trying to make a decision. Do we quit what we're doing and go after the dream? And in those days, sadly, it was the old school. You play the bar circuits.
Oh, yeah.
You play the stuff and hope you can be discovered.
Yeah.
Nowadays we would have just done a demo at some studio on our own.
We released it ourselves.
And we'd have released it on iTunes and YouTube.
Put it on YouTube.
Whole nother world.
But in those days, it was a harder road, and it's possible, and I'm not trying to over-dramatize it, but it is possible that our friend's early death may have saved our lives.
Yeah. Who knows what road we would have went down.
Yeah,
not that we were heathens, but that business itself.
Yeah, well, we weren't living.
Well, Rick, the place that we were signing to go work out of was New Orleans, which is known for its
that road had a lot more potholes in it.
Yeah, because you had actually even prayed, said, hey, if this is what we were supposed to do, and then when we found out our friend was sick, it changed the whole. We called it off.
Mm-hmm.
And so who knows? But it was, and then we did keep playing, and of course kept dabbling in it. And you kind of left, and I kept on doing the bands for a while, and then that led to, everybody's favorite garage band, Mr. Lucky, because we were approached about having a band, and then we brought you back.
Y'all made that CD, and y'all were both involved. And I hadn't at that time. I think I hadn't played in 9 years. It seems like. And you were like, "Hey, look, got this little tour set up with the CD. You remember we played the theaters?" Because I was like, "Rick, I'm a fan." He goes, "It's not like what we used to play."
Right.
He said, "We're playing theaters.
We all actually can play this and have fun with it."
Yeah, he goes, "You're going to get paid a little bit." He goes, "We don't have to set anything up," because we used to have to be our own road crew too. We had roadies. I said, well, and then Ryan Greenwood, God love him, would drive to my house and work and teach me the songs that we were going to play. And then I jumped back in, and we ended up doing the Fat Fest things were incredible. That was my dream. I mean, we stood there on the side of that stage, and they hit them house lights, and you hear the crowd come up, and we're at Oak Mountain Amphitheater. It was awesome.
Yeah, if you don't know that much about the history of the show, Fat Chance, we did it from 99 to 2003, 5 years. It was an outdoor amphitheater that fans from all over came. And, of course, because of the radio show, we would have these very talented people and
other lineup,
other bands and comedians. And then, of course, we would close the show with our own garage band.
Yeah.
But we did pyro and put on the big show, had lifts. We just had a blast with it.
For me, it was fun to be on that stage on the other side where you had seen so many great shows and to be up there and so many people turning out. It was a lot of fun. I hope everybody enjoyed it. But, Greg, I want to focus on you again. We'll hold off getting to the show, but at what point, I know you've developed a lot of things that you're very passionate about.
Now look, don't get me in trouble.
One of them is puppet to human interaction.
Yeah,
when did that come along?
I blame Alf.
So the show Alf turned you
and
off
the Muppet Show when they would have guests, even though it wasn't as bad.
But why? But you were very mad and passionate about it. Why did it make you mad?
I think it's stupid. I mean, and worse than that's Roger Rabbit.
Yeah,
human to cartoon interaction.
Yeah,
that's worse. I can handle human to puppet before I can human to cartoon.
You never really cared for sequels.
No, they don't live up to the hype at all.
Any sequel that you say that may have been as
the
good?
Rocky series, I'll give it a pass.
You'll give 2 and 3?
I'm gonna say this. I think because the way it was such a continuous story with the same characters. Like, let's go to the one that's my prime example, Beverly Hills Cop 2, or what's the one I love? It's not with
Lethal Weapon?
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, okay.
Those. Sequel, completely different story, completely. I mean, just you know what they were? We're cashing in. I'll give Rocky this. It still held you. It up to when they lost all their money, the 5, that one.
Tommy,
and then these after that, I haven't.
Did you do?
I'll go to 4.
You will go to 4?
Although
you don't think that was a little bit corny?
It was corny, but at the time,
I thought 2 and 3 was excellent.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Listen,
2 was getting there. 3 was trying to stay there.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I saw 1, and I remember thinking, they don't get no better than this. That's the best movie I've ever seen. And then 2 came out because we wanted to know what happened.
Yeah,
See, that's the thing. If it's a show where you want to know what happened to the characters and you can pull that off, I can live with it. But these others, when you go, hey, this one made a lot of money. Let's just make another one. We're going to bring some zany guy in. We got a different,
No hope for Smokey and the Bandit.
No.
Don't even,
no.
Please, come on.
You end at 1. If you even acknowledge the other, God forbid 3. Well, Burt Reynolds wasn't even in it.
He wasn't in 2, was he?
I don't think he was either. And then they had Jackie Gleason like he was triplets.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
Now 1, oh, buddy. I can watch it. Every time it's on, I'll watch it. That's nothing but us at Chi Hall Cinema, and our dad could laugh better than anybody.
Oh, yeah.
We were at Chi Hall Cinema watching Smoking the Bandit, and Dad was losing it.
Yeah.
I remember. That's a memory of mine.
So you may have been about to go there, Bubba. So the next thing is, of course, medleys with bands. Because
it's not so much the medley; it's the face that comes with it.
I know. See, Greg, who says that? And now that some people are watching this, show them what you're talking about.
When they're playing, and you go, okay, they're playing that one, and then when they do the change, and they give you a look like, recognize this one? Oh, right. Hey, you like that one? What about this one?
So you don't care about the fact you're not getting the full song.
No, that bothers me too. But it's more it bothers me, and then you do that, and it pushes me past the limit.
And one of the other ones that you really have a passion for, and this one has caused you a little bit of trouble.
No, I may not comment on
and that
this.
is military
No,
bands.
I'm not. I'm through commenting on that.
You won't comment on that anymore?
Y'all don't understand the email I get.
Well, Greg,
because people say I'm not being patriotic.
Well,
I think I'm actually being patriotic.
Well, what were they mad about? Tell everybody.
You don't have to make everybody mad.
And a lot of people are new to this. They haven't been around the show.
But it's a repeat
25
for the
years.
Yeah,
But why
I just
are
think
people
it's
mad?
a waste of
because
training.
what was your position on that?
My position was that we're going to train you to be a soldier, a killer. Well, maybe just I'll stop at soldier.
I think killer is fair.
But you do all that training, and because I promise you, you're not playing a tuba during basic training.
Right.
But then we hand you a tuba. And, I mean, all that training going
So you mean crawl through mud, learn to take a M16 apart, fire it.
You're ready to
blindfolded,
go. You know what we did?
Ready to charge the beaches against fire, and somebody hands you a flute.
Exactly. We broke you down.
Right.
We built you back up. Now go play the flugelhorn. You know what I mean? My point is we contract soldiers out, Blackwater.
Right.
No, you don't contract the soldiers. Contract the band.
That does make sense. I'm sorry it does. I don't agree with Greg, but it makes sense.
No, this is all Greg's feelings.
And I don't dislike
email
people,
me. I'm just probing the case.
Right.
You know.
Well,
right.
like I said, I'm just saying if I was out there and I'm in, I'm gonna stop.
And Greg, you have a unique ability to say what's on your heart. We have coined the phrase rude Tourette's here. It's one of the medical terms that we've been at the forefront of here, and there's been several. But you definitely are a rude Tourette's person.
I never,
and the ones around you suffer the most.
Yeah.
This one thing about being on the show, I didn't realize it till you can listen or watch yourself back, and I want, man, they may be on to something there because I never knew that.
Yeah. And rude Tourette's is you
just say what's in your mind comes out of your mouth before you had a chance to go, hey, don't say that.
And
you're no filter.
You're saying the recordings of the show, especially the videos, that were eye-opening?
Yeah.
So you look back and you went, wow.
Yeah, somebody walks in, hey, man, look at these new jeans. I'm thinking, look how big your butt looks in it. Something, and you go, just keep that in.
It just comes right out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that shirt looks pretty feminine on you.
Yeah, I mean, you say it like you don't even think. It just comes right out.
Yeah, and then I try to recover and go, oh, man, it looks kind of good. You try to. I didn't. Y'all pointed it out one day. I forget what was happening, but the Helms thing, but then there was something else.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about you joining the show.
Yeah, wow, what a time.
We had an opening. Don Juan had left. We were interviewing folks. Adler was one of the finalists.
I didn't know that.
And initially,
my God, how old was he
we had said, "What about Greg?" Because we'd hung out and done things, and we knew how funny he was. And I think you approached him, and you came in and said, "He ain't interested. We're gonna have to,
I didn't
do an all call."
I just didn't think because first of all, Don Juan DeMarco Williams, who we're still friends with, and for all of you that want to get Rick and Bubba history right, Don Juan came to me. He was very uncomfortable about it because, we love him, and I think he enjoyed being here. And he'd gotten where he was the only single guy here. We all had families. We all had kids. And I think he just wanted to try something else in his life once he got in his 30s. And he left on his own.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
we hated to see him leave.
He could still be here today if he so desired. I'd love to have him and Greg and Adler. But he left. And I honestly thought that Greg's life was just too solidified. I thought there's no way that Greg could even make this move, even if he desired to. So we started talking about it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I think you weren't as serious when you brought it up, and I wasn't either. We were almost laughing about it. I was driving down the road, and he said, hey, how about this Don Juan's leaving? And we're like, yeah. He goes, why don't you come work for us? And we were laughing about it. I said, yeah, that'd be funny. And we didn't even think. And then it's something weird. It just kept. And again, I don't want to get too serious, but a lot of it goes back to, because all kidding aside, we talked about Rick and I when we were kids, how we fought every day. But once we got older, we were buds. We had the band together. We're around each other every day. This was a gap that we hadn't been around each other on a daily basis in, oh my gosh, I don't know how many years.
Many years.
And we just went through a tough time. We just lost Bronner. and all that. And I laughed it off, but it kept coming back. And Lisa and I got together and prayed about it, kind of like we did about the band thing. I was like, man, I don't know. This is a huge. I said, don't even make sense. No way. But it just kept lingering. And I reached back in and I thought, well, he's going to tell me, man, I was just, that you weren't serious. And you may not have been. And it kept coming up. And I don't remember what point it was, but I kept getting a feeling, because I loved the power company and they're like family to me. And I thought, but life's short. You might as well, and the entertainment business thing that we'd always wanted to do, get to be around, me and Rick get to hang out like we did, it's growing up, which we hadn't done in years. The timing just hit, and I thought, why not? And I remember taking that lunge and going, I don't know.
I couldn't believe it, because really the way we were operating, to your point, Bubba, was it was yours if you wanted it, but I really didn't think that was a reality, so let's look at other options. And then when you came back, shockingly, and said, you know what, I think I want to do it. And I just couldn't. Of course, that's what I love all the guys we were considering, and I'm glad Adler's with us now, but for you and I to be able to do, as you just said, to work in the entertainment business together, you realize we thought that was some rock band, and God's like, come on, guys.
That wouldn't have ended well.
What I have planned is much better than that. You actually can do something to impact the kingdom.
Because I don't think we were impacted
We
much.
were not kingdom impactors in the old Silent Rain days and all that. We were playing for the other side.
We had cool hair.
Yeah, we were advancing.
A lot of the people called out to the Lord, though.
Yes,
I think.
they did.
So it was
we
a different thing. Though.
We were operating for the other team, and I mean spiritually.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was almost like God's wonderful timing, but I didn't think, and I also felt bad because you were in a hard working situation, but there was a certain amount of safety, safety is not the word I'm looking for, but security. That's a better word.
Yeah.
Because what you did was not safe, but secure. You're there with the company.
Yeah,
you know
I've
what
been
you're
there
doing.
23 years. I don't know anybody that quits there.
To make a career change at your age when you did was unexpected, but wow, has it been the right thing?
It has. And I'm go back to when I made that decision. The support I got from the people at my old job was maybe a bad thing. They wanted me to leave. I make a joke because I didn't retire. You'll have retirement parties. I didn't retire. I wasn't old enough to retire.
Right.
But they threw me a party. I said, so y'all throwing a party because I'm quitting? Is that it? But no, but it was
a
great.
quitters party.
But it was, they did it up. They were so supportive and were excited for me and all this stuff. And what I like when I came here, remember, I was rarely on the air, which is good because, the show dynamic was a little different. I was in the back shipping merchandise. We used to do it out of here most of the time.
Yep.
And y'all would, if it was a subject, you'd, hey, come up here and hit on this. And all.
Well, I think everybody kind of migrates to the mic. It happened with all of us, me included.
Yeah, well, and what it was, because I thought even with Bubba,
Speedy, Hams, everybody.
It really has
Adler.
It's funny, Bubba, you actually are onto something. The plan in the beginning was, I want to bring people in because doing it by yourself is just a drag and it's not as good. But I didn't know, since everybody here has come from, hey, man, you want to try this?
Yeah.
And then Bubba and I, just like with everybody else, hey, this is working. This is actually more than just popping here every now and then. And so everybody who's come here, Speedy, let's go out on location with Speedy, and he can do his part. Everybody. And when you came here, I thought, well, Greg is funny on the times we bring him on, but just like all of us, can he be an everyday guy? And so it was kind of like he's a hard worker.
The standard's pretty low. It's 2 days a week.
Right, yeah. Well, you know what I mean? I brought you here because you could be funny in moments, and everybody just liked you as a character, and sadly none of it's acting. But there were things we needed done here for the company, and you were going to learn it and do that. I didn't have any concern about that. But the everyday stuff, I think that's the only thing about this show people misunderstand. There's a new show every day.
Yeah.
And the work ethic part you got.
But you told me, you said, look, we'll train you, like the editing and the production stuff. I had no idea. Just like when I went to Power Camp, I know what I was doing. And then, Speedy and other people trained me to learn to do that. And now that's what I have. People think when we're off the air, that's it. But we all have other things we do.
Right.
And my main job is to make sure that commercials are cut and ran and people get what they pay for, Yeah.
Well, I remember, I think we were down to 2, Adler being one of them. And Rick came in. Usually, I would be in my office first, just at that time especially.
Yeah.
And Rick came in and said, "Greg's in. Greg wants it." I said, "Really?"
You were like, "What?"
Were you shocked?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have been shocked if he had done it at the beginning, but we'd interviewed quite a few people and been through a process, and I'm like, so we got to tell these guys that Greg wants it now.
See,
and we got to short circuit this a little bit. And I said, well, but Greg was our first pick. So we got to do what's right, and I think you even said, well, my mom said we got to hire him.
Right.
So,
Let me throw that in right quick. I think a lot of that. You mean she did not like me being a lineman. She used to say when there's storms, I just sit up at night thinking about you out there, and I think she saw this as, hey, let's get him down there to the studio. I really do believe
Mama
that.
Burgess said it's good. We got to finish this.
Mama said, look, if y'all can get him in a better situation, and when we say better, you were making good money and you were very successful, and it's been more of a parallel move for you financially. But you know, what was that conversation? Because you certainly weren't doing it because, good news, I'm gonna make a lot more money.
No.
Because you know you were doing pretty well with a good company. Tell me about the conversation with Lisa. Was it really along the quality of life?
It was.
Discussion?
I'll be honest with you.
And there was going to be some negatives because of the driving and the time and all that stuff.
But at the time, I was then they called them troublemen. They're local linemen now. And that's the guy that they call you when somebody's lights are out. And you go to figure out why they're out. Right. If you can fix it, you fix it. If you don't, you call the crew. Hey, I got a bad transformer.
Call in backup.
Yeah. So, but you get a lot of calls. You work a lot of hours. And back then, it was me and one other guy covering all of Cleveland County. So if you weren't first call, you were second call.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I liked it because I was making a lot of overtime. But I can remember it was right up before this 1 week.
You had a pretty good drive then, too, huh?
Yeah, from Jacksonville.
Unless you were Oxford, I guess.
Yeah. So I would go one week. It was one of those weeks. It comes in phases where it just piles up. A lot of bad weather. And it seemed like every time I got home, I'd lay down, they'd call me back. Got home, lay down. And I remember sitting in the bed, and I was just wore out. And I remember saying, dang. Of course, I can always bid to a different job. That was a great thing about that company. I didn't have to stay doing that.
Right.
But I just liked it because I was making, a lot of overtime. Anyway, and I remember being wore out, and Lisa, when this came up, she was actually supportive of it from day one. She goes, you're so wore out, and I see you sit there, and just drop your head, and every time the phone rings, and she said, this is a God thing. It came out of nowhere, and she really was one of the main reasons it made me seriously look at it. Because I come home and said, you ain't going to believe it. I was talking to Rick, She's like, but she honestly, and we prayed about it. She goes, this feels like something, a God thing that this opportunity came from nowhere. It really did, unexpected.
Well, I think it's been good for all of us. Bubba and I.
She was hugely supportive.
Doing and again, this is not a dig at the team that we had. I love the teams we've had the whole time. But when you've been doing something a long time, you start kind of looking forward. Hey, this thing needs a new energy. Need to start looking at some more material. And I think it helped the show. And I've had a number of people say that. I think God's timing of Greg coming on the show was also a good time for the show. But what was it like? And I know we're getting toward the end here, but when you got here, when you're picturing in your mind what it was like to come on every now and then, to call in, stop by on the way for a hunting trip, one time driving a truck up here, which we won't revisit.
Yeah, got in trouble over that. How about the man? You'll love this. The big wig, and this guy was number 2 in the company.
Yeah,
I'm not going to call my name, but they got mad that day about the truck. We finally met and got to laughing about it. And when I left to come here, he actually came to my party.
He did.
He showed up and was like,
to be sure you were
maybe it was being sure I was leaving, but when he
not let you back out.
And then when he retired, they invited me down to come speak at his retirement down here at the big office.
So you're all good with the company, even though we brought the truck up here and pulled you up in a bucket right to our window one time. But that was all, hey, I'm ready to go. It's kind of like what Bubba was talking about when he went from coming in every now and then to, hey, it's the Rick and Bubba show. Was it different than you thought it would be? Well, you have to kind of find the rhythm of it.
Well, yeah, it is, because when I would come by and we were going hunting, we'd come and get on the air. Oh, man, I can't imagine. But when it's 5 days a week, and I'm not acting like that, we're wearing the salt mine. I'm talking about creatively, mentally. 5 days a week, you got to come up with something that you hope people listen to. That's. But what I love, though, and just like at the power company, I knew it would be, not just Rick, all of us. It's like you're at high school with your buddies, and you get to hang out every day, and that is awesome. I mean, we were laughing today.
It does have that sports team feel to it.
I mean, we hack on each other, and we were going today. Some reason Speedy was in the barrel today.
He spends a lot of days.
He does, but that's fun. And I had that where I worked before, but it picked up here. And at times it may be more brutal.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Bubba. I think that may be one source of maybe the wrong kind of pride. But for us to be able to live up to the power company as being just a place to get hacked on, maybe at a higher level.
And those guys were ruthless.
Oh,
especially when you were learning your trade and you were the low guy. Yeah. Oh, so the first crew I was in.
And you think here's worse?
It can be. It could be more
creatively. I think it's worse.
I think because there, you know that's going to happen. Right. Here, you'll get ripped by somebody. Go, where did that come from? You know, I knew when I was apprentice in Ashland, and everybody in the crew was like 50 and up, all them old rough guys, and I was like 23.
Yeah.
I knew that I was on the bottom and I was going to get it. Here, you get to thinking you might be something, and somebody come in and just knock your legs right out from under you.
Well, there, 5 or 6 guys may see it. Here, a million people
That's
know
true.
about it.
That's a good point.
And then they'll post it on social media, and more and more know about it.
Has that part been strange? Because I know, really, honestly, you're more of a private guy.
I don't like. To be honest, I'm rephrasing. I'm gonna say I don't like it. That I'm more uncomfortable with that because you're right. I am a private person, and I know that's crazy because this show.
But you have the wall.
I do. I mean, I'm just because I had somebody one time when I first started.
Fell down a long time ago.
Oh yeah. Well, see, I've been P.T. Barnum since a kid, so this is all I've ever done anyway.
That is the part that takes me most to get. Now, I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying. A lot of us. I'm like, well, nobody cares. Nobody wants to. And I don't know. That part makes me uncomfortable a little bit, but that's rare because I'm not a social media guy. I just. I'm nothing against the people that love it and use it correctly. Good for you. I'm just not interested in it.
Right. Well, and one of the things I hear people say this all the time. I think that everybody on the show has their role. It all works as a team in unison, which is kind of awesome. But I've had a lot of people say Greg is like, that's my guy. That he says the things that I'm thinking. Which, what does that say about these people? But they're saying, it's all. I think there is the fact that you're not like this is something that you almost seem like you reluctantly have been pulled into. I'm talking about more of the spotlight, the platform. I think that's what endeared you to a lot of people.
Well,
because we're all regular people, but I think they see you since you spent so much time in the blue collar world. They're all regular guys, but Greg's really a regular guy.
Because I don't see myself actually.
You're a regular
yeah,
regular,
double
regular.
Yeah. There's Bubba regular and there's Greg regular.
Like I say, I don't see myself.
There's Rick regular
in the broadcasting business if I wasn't on the Rick and Bubba show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I think we all could probably say that.
I'm just saying, I'm talking about as far as I get talent-wise, but besides that, I'm talking about before as a desire. My desire was never to be a radio person. I had no interest in it or anything. I thought it was kind of cool, but now to be on the Rick and Bubba show is a different thing. Put it that way, I don't see me, hey, it's the Greg show, because one, it's a big difference in sitting over and being a smart aleck and cracking on people's thoughts as opposed to sitting there and having to drive the bus. I know the difference, and I know what I do well, and that ain't it.
Well, Greg, it's been great to kind of get in here and unpack and talk about all of that, and glad you're here on the team. But like you were saying, is you would have never gone into broadcasting as your line of work.
No.
At one time, your favorite part of that was me getting you tickets to stuff you wanted.
And you did a great job with that.
And occasional free pizza.
Yeah, a free pizza every day.
Listen, here's what I would love is on Christmas he'd show up with some expensive present. He goes, don't feel bad. Them socks you bought me, you paid more for it than I did that.
You remember looking forward to the radio prize that I would bring you for a gift?
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, so... Well, it's great to have you on the team.
Well,
I know a lot of people love it.
I appreciate
Greg, you've been a great addition,
yep.
and it's you're one of those blocks that just make this wall a little bit better.
Well, I'm just proud to be a part of it, and like I say, every day it ain't like coming to a job. Once I get past the fact it's 2:30 in the morning,
it's fun when we get here.
It's every day.
Now that getting up,
but you guys,
hey,
it's what we get paid for.
You guys to let me be a part of it is a huge honor, and it's been life changing. And like I said, I can't believe I've been here 11 years, but I have.
What about before we go? We got to do this. What is it like to be the first granddaddy?
How about that? I come in, I'm the first. It is incredible. Everybody told me it was, and they weren't lying. Because my favorite part of my life to this point was when my kids were little and stuff. I love all that stuff, and now I have another one that when you're done with him, you can send him home with them, and you don't have to put up with the middle of the night stuff. And it's incredible. Like I said, I bring on more.
Greg,
it's awesome.
We think your heart grew 3 sizes.
It did.
When baby
just
Ella,
like the Grinch.
Yeah. It kind of hurt me on the show. I thought, well, can I still be that guy everybody expects?
Well, your soft underbelly has now been exposed.
It is, and it's incredible. He sees something else.
I want to ask you, because you're the first one in this area on the show. You got there first. People tell me that grandparenting is one of the few things in life that actually lives up to the hype.
It does. In my case, it has. Because like I said, you get to do all the fun things.
And then send them home.
Then you send them home. And I can't, you can't wait to just when they get old enough that they know and you can give them anything they want and make their parents deal with it.
Isn't that great?
But it is. It absolutely lives up to the hype.
Well,
it does.
The Real Greg Burgess.
Give them sugar and a little quarter in their hand.
Yeah, get them cranked up.
We've unpacked him as best you can. He's a hard shell to crack.
Yeah.
But hopefully today you got to spend uninterrupted time with unpacking the person that is the Real Greg Burgess.
The Real Greg Burgess.
Real Greg Burgess.
Now, is Adler going to edit this and make me like I said stuff I really didn't say to get me back?
Yes.
A good editor can do that.
Yes.
So I'm anxious to see the final product.
You just turned your life over to Adler, and he can present you any way he wants to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Join us on the next episode of Rick and Bubba University.